Jeffco, it's Friday. Fun day. That's right, we made it to the end of the first week. Kids come back next week. Everything's going great. It's Friday, put on your party hat and put on the party shades. Now, let's get serious. Yesterday, our superintendent, Tracy Dorland, went on a media blitz to talk about the upcoming school year and, touch on, some other issues. Let's just check what Tracy had to say.
Seriously. We know that it's not unusual for superintendents and their unions to have some friction, and
Sure.
you're in this boat right now. So just to refresh folks a little bit, you've had, especially when they're going through contract negotiations, that's always something we cover. Your union has made it clear they've had some frustrations with you, a vote of no confidence. They've asked you to resign. I just want to know, and their concerns are about communication issues and leadership issues. My question for you is first, would you resign? Is that a consideration at all or no? And then also, you're an educator. How would you grade yourself in this job? How would you grade your communication with your team, your union, your board?
Yeah. So I'm here today talking to you as superintendent of Jeffco Public Schools. The answer to am I going to resign is a resounding no.
How about that? Well, let's talk about some of the stuff that she talked about yesterday on 9 News, and then she was also on Channel 7 yesterday morning. So the vote of no confidence that was issued in May, she wants to connect it to negotiations that were taking place at that time. And if you remember, negotiations weren't going all that well either. Well, the vote of no confidence really didn't have anything to do about how negotiations were going or were not going or whatever was happening with them at that time. It was more about her leadership style and her ability to collaborate. Now, she goes on, she makes a comment that she's more than willing to collaborate and work more with JCA and other teachers throughout the district, but they have to come to the table, quote unquote, solution-oriented and respectful. Okay, I've been in many of these meetings with Tracy Dorland. I've been there with Brooke Williams, I've been there with other leaders, and there have been other leaders and other teachers who have been in similar meetings with her. So we present we present solutions. We come in there solution-oriented, and we come in and willing to work. Solution-oriented doesn't mean that we agree. And being respectful doesn't mean that we say, yes, that's correct. And I think this is a big issue here. There is a difference between coming in with proposed solutions and being respectful versus suggestions that you don't like and disagreeing with your vision. There's a big difference there. We have had solution-oriented discussions. I think we've always been respectful. Just because we disagree with what you may want and have different ideas than what you may have, doesn't mean that we are not willing to work towards some sort of solution. Let's be clear. She talks about every teacher. She says in this interview, every teacher is going to get a 4% salary increase. Some, she says, will get up to 8% salary increase. Will get an 8% salary increase if they're increasing their education levels. So while most teachers are going to get a 4% increase, teachers that are on step 22 at the very bottom of the salary schedule are not going to get that. All they're going to get is a or a 1.5% salary increase. They're not getting that additional step increase that other teachers above on the pay scale are going to get. Now, admittedly, when we shrunk the pay scale, we knew this was a possibility. We knew that teachers at the very bottom, if there's no, all they're going to receive is COLA increases. Okay, but in the long run, these teachers at the bottom are going to make more money in the long run than they would on the old long scale that we had. However, the teachers on step 22 are actually going to take a pay decrease because of the increase in benefits. And if you are moving lanes from one education lane to another education lane to another education lane, if you're going from lane 5 to lane 6, you're not getting the 4% increase that other people get as they move across lanes, because Jefferson County Schools, despite what they promised when this lane was created, has never, ever even entertained the idea of making that jump from lane 5 to lane 6 a full 4%. So that was false. Now, what is not false that we found out during negotiations is that principals who have topped out on their salary schedule, they call it merits, even though they may have topped out, they got an additional 2.5% salary increase. So they got the 1.5% that we got, COLA, and then they received the additional 2.5%. So apparently, they value their administrators more than they value their educators. That's a point. That's a good point. Let's also talk about, she goes on and she talks about that she's going to make all this, her decisions are always going to be based on what's best for students. Admirable, valid point. I think all of us would support that. What we have to remember, though, is that the people that are in the classroom, the people that are in the building that are dealing with those students, that's where the money, that's where the resources need to be focused. That money should not be focused on increasing central admin and their assistants or consultants. And we have demonstrated numerous times to the district in various ways, in various different formats, that the number of central administrators in this district has grown exponentially, while the number of students has dropped off and the number of teachers has dropped off. So the money going into central admin has grown, while the money going to maintain the schools and classrooms hasn't grown. That's just a fact. That is just a fact. The number of administrators, central administrators, is tremendously large, and it has
At
grown.
Westera Credit Union, we know financial responsibility can be intimidating.
Oh, that was wild. So let's just keep that in mind. Teachers' working conditions, educators' working conditions are students' learning conditions. That's just a fact. At the very end of the interview, she gave herself an A+ as an administrator. A+ means there's nowhere else to grow. I've been teaching for 27 years. I'm a better teacher now than I was 2 years ago. Every year I try to get better. I'm not an A+ teacher, because if I'm an A+ teacher, I have no ability to get better. If this is the best that she's going to be, that's not good enough. She can do better, she can get better, and that's not an A+. Take care, Jeffco. Make it a great weekend. Get ready for those kids next week.